people appreciate honesty and candor with concrete examples and action. So like what happens to, I think, a lot of inexperienced managers is most of us are conflict avoiders. And so you're just uncomfortable saying what you want to say. You're worried about hurting people's feelings. And so inevitably, like you either soften it too much or you don't give it at all. And then people get surprised. They're like, wait, you've been telling me I'm doing a good job. Or like the back slapping or sort of like the positive reinforcement is a lot easier to give than what can feel like kind of negative course correction or critical feedback. But feedback is a gift. And actually, like when people hear it, like most people don't want to get sucker punched or don't want blind spots. They want to know them. And then they want the ability kind of with guidance to sort of adjust. And by the way, some of those adjustments might not be possible. And, I think I did a good job of framing that too, which is like, I'm rooting for you, but based on what I've seen and based on what we've talked about, the things that you need to do to sort of get on right track may not be possible, but let's figure that out. And, but that's what I sort of learned early on is it's sort of the combination of feedback early, feedback honest, like don't kind of hold back and sort of shape it in a constructive way, but then really give examples and then give concrete actions. Like this is what wasn't working. This is what needed to happen and what could produce that outcome. And the other thing is like, you don't want to tell people this is how I think you should do it because, my job as a manager is to find people, as a leader, is to find people that can do things without a lot of guidance or coaching. Like I can tell you kind of the what, not the how. I shouldn't tell you the how. And maybe, in people that you're trying to sort of like coach or work on some performance improvement, you could say, I'm going to give you some suggestions for how, but there's a time limit on how much time that we spend with me giving you the map exactly. Because what I need you to do is design the map. I'm going to tell you where the destination is. Like the journey there is up to you. But that's tough. That requires, by the way, I would say just, the difference between kind of leading and managing. Managing requires a lot of emotion. It just does. So does leading. But actually, like when you're leading, there's a dimension of leading that you can get more emotional deposits than withdrawals. Like being a really good manager, I think you're getting more. Oftentimes, you can get more withdrawals than deposits.
You're giving more than you're getting back emotionally.
You are, and it is a learned skill, right? I think the more you do it,
managing is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. The more you do it, and the more you kind of practice it, the better you are. And what back to maybe the quote, like I discovered not everybody is going to be good at it. Not everybody actually will want to spend the time kind of banging their head around it. And they may be better served as being an individual contributor. They might be happier and the business might be better. I think there's like this sometimes sort of like this false career progression of like, I'm only going to grow if I get people underneath me. And it kind of sucks. I mean, I think good companies have this sort of inspired program of like an IC track where it's like your skills are not motivating people, leading people, guiding people, course correcting people. Your skills are kind of applied individually to a thing that we need doing. And you can level that up along the way and let's figure out like how to do that. Atlassian had a program like that. I think Google does too. But I think it's important because like it shouldn't be, man, the only way I'm going to grow professionally is to become a manager and a director and a senior director and a VP. And then I've got orgs underneath me and people. And there's a lot of people that go on that track to pursue growth, but actually don't really belong on that track. They're not good at it. And we've all had bad managers, right? And a bad manager is like somebody that either shouldn't be there in the first place or like wasn't taught by a good manager to begin with. And so like they're not trying to figure out how can I be a good manager. The other thing too, by the way, I could go on this topic forever is like another thing a good manager does is should be open to critical feedback of them. Like we early on at Atlassian kind of had adopted this performance management system that was bi-directional. And it was again, from first principles, I think it was kind of a breakthrough for us where it was like, there was a software product still around, I think called Small Improvements that did this thing where it was like kind of a YX axis and blindly without the manager seeing the user would kind of draw a dot. The axis was maybe like, execution against, objectives in the quarter, like how you did, and then kind of how you stretch beyond that, or some other thing, like how you contribute to the culture. And so like way over here to the top right is I'm just killing it on all dimensions. I'm doing everything. I'm above and beyond what you need me to do. And I'm like contributing to culture and team and like everything else, doing things you don't ask me. Way down here is like, we've got a big problem. And what I loved about this system is, the employee would drag the dot, and then the manager would drag the dot. And then you'd do a reveal and you'd see the difference between the dots. And it was just a perfect way to say, we've got to disconnect. Let's talk about why you're way up here, which usually happen, and I'm down here. And what I would have wanted to see to get you up there. The cool thing about it is we inverted the system where it was like, how about me as a leader? How would I draw the dimensions of how I give you critical feedback, how I give you coaching, how I give you positive reinforcement, how clear am I on communicating expectation? And then as an employee, you rate me, you drop the dot, you're shit. Like, you never talk to me. You never tell me I do a good job. Like, I never hear anything about what I could be doing better, versus like the manager's like, man. And so like, let's talk about that gap. And it was such a beautiful way to trigger what can be an awkward and really hard conversation, just discussing that gap.